Welcome back to Grassroots Radio on KLZ 560. This is Andy Pate. I am sitting in with Chris Cook, and we are talking to Eric in Fort Lupton. Eric, you still there?
Yes, this is Eric Bob.
Yeah, this is Eric Bob. you now
hyphenated.
By the end of the show, you're going to have two personalities, and they're each going to come out at awkward times. This could ruin your job. I just want you to know.
It's not going to be pretty.
Bob could come raging out. Get out of my life, man. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice the first thing I did is I wanted to put him at ease and tell him, look, I like the fact that you like liberty, and you don't want the government telling you how to live your life. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Secondly, I want them to look at the head of Christianity before looking at Christians and understand you got people making mistakes throughout all religions.
Right.
And that's what we did second. Now, let's talk about, why do Christians do it? Especially, why do they, in the Republican Party, at times try to control people's moral decisions, right? And here's my answer. First of all, on abortion, that's a different story because they believe more than one person is affected. Now, you may not believe it's a human life yet, but if somebody does believe it's one, then at that point they believe abortion is one person's choice erasing another person's choice. And they think that's unfair. Now, you may disagree with that, and that's fair. But can you at least understand why they would have that concern? Does that sound fair, Bob?
Yes, I can. But, if they're forcing me to do something because of their belief, then how is that consistent with liberty?
Right. It is only consistent with liberty because you got to keep in mind you can't have anybody's choices taken. If you allow one person's choice to take away other people's choices, that's not liberty. That's called control. When my choice takes away your choices, that's called control. But let's just look at the other things where we're not even.
Let's take abortion off the table because there is a debate, obviously a huge debate on whether or not somebody's life is being impacted or not.
Sure. At that point,
same-sex marriage.
At that point, it comes down to do you believe it's a life or not? Okay. And like same-sex marriage. Here's what I would say in your marijuana, all the social issues, what you do with your body. Okay.
Right.
I would say this. Here's why they do it. It's not because they're terrible people who want to control your life. It's not because they cannot live in a world where they don't make more people like them. That's not the point. It's because they worry about people. Now, when you make decisions with your money, with your business, with your car, with a lot of things in life, you can bounce back easily from those. If you make a decision with your body, premarital sex and so forth, when you make decisions with your body, for right or wrong, they can be good ones too. But it's much more difficult to come back from those, to turn them around. You can't just save up more money and pay off your debts. And because of that, a lot of times Christians will say, look, we're just worried because we don't want you making decisions that you can't reverse so easily. And does that mean they should control your decisions? No. Jesus didn't.
He allowed people to make mistakes.
Right.
He did allow it, and even bad mistakes, really bad mistakes.
Exactly. There is no Christian jihad. But, so they still should not, extend over. You see, what I always tell people is this, look, my morality is conservative Christian morality, but I don't want my beliefs to be your laws. I want them to be an option. Okay. Now, if somebody wants to make them your laws, I would disagree with them. But I would understand they're doing it from their heart because they care about you. Go ahead.
What do you think, Eric?
Well, whether they care about me or not, I care about me more. And when their laws tell me that my decisions are illegal, I can't support their party. Yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute, though. Why would that drive you to being a Democrat then? That's pretty extreme.
Well,
there are plenty of Republicans who support gay marriage. There are plenty of Republicans who are pro-choice. There are lots of Republicans who support marijuana. Okay, why would you have to become a liberal Democrat because of that? Why not be part of a liberty movement? Let me ask you this, Bob. Does your political party have to agree with you on everything? Do you need that much control over those around you? That they all have to agree with you on everything? Okay, so what if you have a party that believes in liberty, where you can go and you disagree with them on a few issues, but they freely let you and you can affect them from the inside while working together toward liberty?
Well, and I'm 50 years old, and that's exactly what I do.
Good.
But if I was 18 years old,
I'm 51, by the way.
The other side would look really attractive because all of the lollipops and sunshine they're telling me about looks really good.
Well, and that's one thing that Andy does talk about is when you're 18, 19 years old, your entire world is your body. It has nothing to do with your business because you don't own a business yet. It has nothing to do with your job because you don't have a job yet. You don't have all the things that the rest of conservatism is really good for liberty, really good on liberty. And our message is very clear that we are, pro-business and we're pro you making your own money and all that kind of stuff. If they're not there yet, then everything that we do looks like it's control. So I get it. We need to move on. So, Eric, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Mark from Black Forest, welcome to Grassroots Radio. What do you got for us?
Oh, I keyed in on a couple of things you said earlier about ideas, and I've heard other hosts talk about the war of ideas. I'd recommend not using that word.
Okay.
I'd recommend using, because to me, and a lot of people, ideas are theory. They're untested. And I think we have a system that is tested, and it works. We've got the evidence for it.
Which system?
Doesn't.
Capitalism
works, and socialism does not.
Yeah, agreed.
I think part of our strategy in talking to liberals is to talk about the evidence and talk about what works and what doesn't. The other thing was just best practices. I mean, another way you can say it is best practices and bad practices.
Okay. Those are great points. I hadn't really thought about that.
Ideas.
Can I jump in here for a sec?
Sure.
A lot of people know because I wrote an article about it. I was very critical of the Republican response to the State of the Union. And the reason...
And I was very critical of her shoes. Those shoes were horrible.
Well, I'm not a fashion guy, but here's why. Because I heard a lot of platitudes. Okay. And a lot of, we like this, we like that, we like this, we like that. But there was no, this is why capitalism works. This is why socialism doesn't work. I mean, we're responding to a speech from the president that's all about redistribution of wealth. It's all about socialism, right? And we didn't provide one single iota of evidence that that's the wrong way to go.
Right.
Now, a different example would be Governor Scott Walker over the weekend in Iowa did an entire speech, and Mark, all he did was lay out again and again examples of how using this approach worked in Wisconsin and how they turned around a budget and how they unleashed, education and how they did all these things. So I guess I'm just commenting to say
examples, real world stories, and
right.
not a war of ideas, but we've got it. We've got the real world. We've got the real evidence. Mark, you were so right on that. I really appreciate you calling in.
I mean, we got to point to this evidence because there's so many that think everything's fine, everything's hunky-dory. And if we want to save America, we have to show them that things are not fine. Things are in bad shape.
That's true. We need...
Great point, Mark.
We really need to tell those stories. We need to tell them well. Mark, thanks so much. I really appreciate your call. Rick from Centennial, welcome to Grassroots Radio. What do you got for us?
Hi, Rick.
Hey, Kris. Hey, Andy. I have two general lines of inquiry. The first one is that this question, well, what do we do with people that disagree with a little bit? How do we handle this? And I think that my approach is that one is the disagreements with the mainstream. I'm talking Romney, Bush, Christie, et al. Those are more than minor disagreements. They are fatally flawed candidates that I could never vote for because it would be like, two Democrats running against each other,
right.
Hillary and one of these guys. And except these Democrats are especially obnoxiously hawkish, and I think I kind of juxtapose that to how I approached the gubernatorial election here. Bob LaPree had a pretty solid pro-liberty campaign. Now, he went back a little bit on, for legalization of marijuana. He wasn't good at all, but I made the case that, listen, that's one issue. On other things, he's good. It's unlikely that, even that issue's huge to you. It's unlikely it's going to be overturned. Let's go ahead and work with the guy. Cory Gardner wasn't a perfect candidate, but, now we've been rewarded. He's working with Rand Paul on a bill now in the Senate to make the cost of government regulations less onerous for businesses. He's working with Rand Paul to audit the Pentagon.
Right.
So
but Rick, aren't you putting up some examples of why it is good to get somebody in who's at least on your side, even if they do disagree with you some things? Because, you see, I'm not going to agree with your premise that Mitt Romney, well, he wasn't my guy. I was a Herman Cain guy. And I also like Rand Paul a lot. But Mitt Romney is not the equivalent of Barack Obama. Okay? And I just think that's wildly inaccurate. So I'm not going to buy the premise that to have Mitt Romney run against, Hillary Clinton is equal against equal. I will say this. Obviously, Mitt Romney is well to the left of me.
Right. Go ahead, Rick.
I believe that in that example that you're addressing there, I believe that Mitt Romney is bad. With us now, Republicans now holding Congress and probably going to keep on holding the House, we can be a little bolder. And for Mitt, I'd much rather in 4 years, if we lose, I'd much rather have a situation where we can have a Republican run in 4 years rather than having the sad state of affairs of having Mitt Romney and whatever big spending, big government type Democrats put up. Remember, Romney brought on Romney Care on Massachusetts.
No. Romney Care was hammered out with an 85% Democrat legislature. Do you honestly, after telling us about how Cory Gardner has been affected by Rand Paul, do you honestly believe Mitt Romney who, by the way, said he would not? And I'm not a Romney fan. I don't like being his big defender.
Three-time loser.
He's not the guy I want. I don't want him. Okay, but do you honestly believe, after saying how Gardner has been affected by Rand Paul, do you honestly believe Mitt Romney would govern exactly the same and nationalize Romney Care when he said he did not want to do that, when he's sitting there with a Republican-led House and Senate, when the Romney Care was hammered out with an 85% Democrat veto-proof Democrat legislature? I mean, come on. I'm just going with what you said. I believe that he would be heavily affected by people like you on our side.
I don't trust him because remember the last election, he came out and said, well, he was his approach was to make Obamacare more palatable. Also, remember his solution for defense was to spend $2 or $3 trillion more dollars on defense and have a real activist foreign policy. I think that if Romney was elected, we'd be at war with Iran right now.
We might be. I'm probably a little more hawkish than you are, Rick. I believe that we've weakened ourselves on the international stage and made ourselves into a laughingstock. And I don't think that that's where America should be. I think that we have strength that we are failing to exhibit right now. But that's okay. We really have to run to break.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate your call. Care. So, we're not going to solve this tonight.
We're not?
No, we're not. I really don't think so. This is something I will probably wake up at 2 a.m. with some more ideas. I'm sure I will. I'd like to actually kind of switch topics when we come back. I've got some crazy stories that I just can't wait to hear your take on. So,
okay.
You're listening to Chris Cook with Andy Pate on Grassroots Radio Colorado on KLZ 560. KLZ 560.